I think that is a super powerful idea because when we look at the way that the behemoths of the past really sort of died down once the age of the internet came in, I think one way that we can actually process it is through this idea of layering, and that is what I wanted to ask you about, which is the 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 IBMs of the world had a certain way of building products. They had a certain way of selling it to customers. They had a certain way of branding and marketing it and understanding whether it was succeeding or not. And whereas when you look at the Airbnbs of the world and the Netflixes of the world and the Warby Parkers of the world, one thing that really stood out to me is that these young firms understood at their very core the theory of jobs to be done. They understood what jobs that their customers wanted to do. They contrasted that with what the existing value chain was offering to customers, understood where there was delinks or poor linkages, and went and innovated in those spaces and actually gained market share by that. Is my analysis correct?
You're spot on with this. It's this idea that so first you need to work, or you have to help big companies to understand how they make their decisions. And by working with many big companies around the world, the analogy that I make is going to a casino. Big companies are like rich people going to a casino. If you observe a rich person entering a casino, they don't go to the slot machines. They don't go to the roulette. Why? Because in a roulette or a slot machine, you and I versus a multimillionaire, we have the same chances of winning. And rich people don't want that. They want better chance of winning. So they want to the games in which their money has a slight advantage. Poker. Poker, if you arrive with more money than others, you can bluff, you can kind of put more money, you can put it all in, you can frighten your opponents. So you have more resources, and big companies want to enter markets in which they have a quote unquote unfair advantage, right? And that happens. So if you see a bank wants to enter a market in which they have an unfair advantage. And what is their advantage? Banks have branches. So when they have, 1,000 branches, 2,000 branches, they are thinking, what new product can we come up with that we can sell across all of our branches? When a retailer, supermarket, they want to go into a market and they want to squeeze their suppliers because they're big and they want to get lower prices and they want to sell it in all of their stores. That is an unfair advantage versus a smaller supermarket or a one shop across the street. Telecom operators, their unfair advantage is all of their cell phone towers and all of the cables that they've invested to put in people's homes. So any new product in their mind is like, what can we do with our resources? That's what I call a resource-centric view. They focus on their resources and how do they take advantage, just like the rich person going into playing poker, right? And when you contrast that with startups don't have the resources. They don't have the thousands of stores or the tens of thousands of bank branches. The only thing that startups have is looking at like you say, a customer need that is a pain point, unfulfilled, a job that the customer needs to be done that big companies are not doing well. And so the startups have a focus on that activity and they don't have the resources. So they're trying to really improve the service for the customer, the product for the customer. That's all they have. And so they focus on that versus the big companies are focusing on using their advantage to extract more value from customers. And that's where it goes down. A great story that I like to tell is in the United States, remember in the times of video rental services. So when Blockbuster was the biggest company, it had tens of thousands of stores. When Netflix came about with video by mail, Blockbuster started seeing people weren't going to the video store anymore, right? And so Blockbuster said, well, we need to make more money. And they decided to sell candy and ice cream in the stores to try to make money. Because then they had thousands of places to sell candy and ice cream. But they missed the point. people were not going to the store anymore. You can sell whatever you want at your store. It doesn't matter. And, instead of them realizing that kind of people wanted convenience, they don't want to go to the store. Going from your house to a store to rent out a movie is a value eroding activity in your customer value chain, right? Getting the DVD by mail, much more convenient, and then streaming, the ultimate convenience, that took down the hundreds of thousands of video rental companies all across the world.